Dividing decimals. Let's start with a couple of examples. Say you're going to take $2 and you're going to divide that up into 4 equal parts. Now most people already know what the answer is. 50 cents. Let's see how we can find that answer by using long division. Now, let's just say we ignore the decimal for now. Even though 4 goes into, won't go into 2, but it does go into 20. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, you get 0. Gotta bring down another 0 because we're not done. 4 goes in 0, 0 times, and 0 times 4 is 0. Subtract, you get 0. Now how can we get a 50 cents that we already know the answer to? Well, all we do is move it straight up. So what that's saying is, when you're dividing by a whole number, the decimal stays where it's at in the dividend, and then from there we move it straight up. So in other words, the decimal doesn't change its place. Now let's say that we take the same $2 and we're going to divide by 50 cents. Now what we're asking when you're being asked this question is, how many 50 cents are there in $2? Well, most people know there's 4 like 50 cent pieces that make up $2. Let's do this one by long division. 2.00 divided by 0.50. Let's ignore the decimals. 50 won't go into 2, 50 won't go into 20, but 50 will go into 200 4 times, and 4 times 50 is 200. Now in the previous example, when we dealt with the decimal, we moved it straight up, but we know the answer is a 4, and the decimal after a 4, or if you don't say decimal, it's always at the end. So we know the answer is there. So how can we make this decimal move way over here? Well, it's all based on this. We want to always divide by a whole number divisor. So what that means is, we're going to take this decimal, we're going to move it to the very end. We had to move it 2 places before we got to the end. What that means is, we're going to move this one 2 places. And when we do that, you'll see that it's in the correct spot. And so, this is just a quick example on how to make sure you know you're doing it right. Always think about money. And that's the process we're going to use. We're going to divide the numbers as usual, and we're going to write the decimal point directly above it. That's if we have a whole number divisor. Now if we have a decimal divisor, we got to make it a whole number by moving it to the end. So that's the process we're going to use. Let's do these examples and see what results. We're going to take 76.8, divide it by 3. Since the decimal is already on the end, we're going to leave this decimal right where it's at, and we're going to move it straight up. Put a decimal there. Then we're done with the decimals. We're now going to do division like we normally would. 3 goes into 7 2 times. Notice, when I'm dividing 3 into the 7, I put the answer right above that digit. Multiply back through, subtract, bring down the 6. 3 goes into 16 5 times. Notice I considered 16. The last digit that was considered was the 6. So I put the answer right above that 6. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract, and you're going to get 1. Bring down the 8. 3 goes into 18 6 times. Notice once again I put the answer right above that 8. Everything's lined up. It's very important with decimals. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract, you get 0, and we are done. But what about when we have divisors that are decimals? That's where we got to move. So we're going to take this decimal, we're going to move it to the end, which means that we move it one place, which means we got to take this decimal and move it one place. When we move it one place, we move it straight up, and we're done with it. Now it's just a matter of keeping everything in line. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract, you get 0. Bring down the 7. 2 goes into 7 3 times. Notice how I write these. I keep it all lined up. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract, you get 1. Bring down the 8. 2 goes in 18 9 times. 9 times 2 is 18. Subtract and you get 0, and we are done. So this next one, 1.26 divided by 0.12. Move it to the end. That took 2 places, so this is going to take 2 places. Now let's divide. 12 won't go into 1, but 12 will go into 12 one time. And 1 times 12 is 12. Subtract, you get 0. Bring down to 6. A lot of people miss this right here. A lot of people want to put a 0 in now and bring it down. No. Do the work. Once you bring it down, that next digit was brought down, you divide. 12 goes into 6 0 times, because it won't go evenly. It goes 0 times. 0 times 12 is 0. Subtract, you get a 6. Now we're going to throw in a 0 and bring it down. 12 goes into 60 5 times, and 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract, you get 0. Sometimes our decimal keeps on going. Sometimes it never stops and never repeats. If that's the case, you'll be told how to round. So keep that in mind. Let's do this last example. Division by powers of 10, and then we're going to expand it to show you that there may be some faster ways to divide these numbers. I'm going to do 47 divided by 10 the long way, long division. And so here we go. This is going to take a little bit of work. 10 won't go into 4, but 10 will go into 47 4 times, and 4 times 10 is 40. Subtract, you get 7. Just throw in a decimal, because it's at the end if we don't have one. Put a 0, bring down the 0. Move that decimal up, that's where it goes. 10 goes into 77 times, and 7 times 10 is 70. Subtract. So 47 divided by 10 is 4.7. There's a faster way. Let's write it like this, in fraction form. That's a simple question. This you really want to pay attention to. It's a simple question. Which one's easier to divide by? A 10? My bad, that wasn't the question. It's a 47. We already know the answer. Which one's easier to divide by? A 10 or a 1? You should be saying 1, because if we're dividing by 1, the answer is always the number on top, or in the numerator. So here's our decimal. We want to make that 10 become a 1. So we're going to move it to the left, one place. That makes it now at 1.0, which means we take this decimal, and we got to move it one place to the left. And we get 4.7 over 1, which is 4.7, and we're done. That's how you're doing. Now let's do this one. 498.75 divided by 1,000. Once again, let's make this 1,000 and a 1, because if it's a 1, then the answer's on top. So you move it 1, 2, 3 places to the left, which means we take this decimal and move it 1, 2, 3 places to the left. Anything divided by 1 is itself. And we're done. And like I said, we could expand this to any number we want. It's kind of a neat little thing to know. 1.6 divided by 0.2. We can go either direction. Which one's easier to divide by? A 0.2 or a 2? I say a 2. Just move it to the right. Make it a 2, which means we gotta move that one to the right. And once you do the bottom, you gotta do the top. It's actually the same thing as 16 divided by 2, which is 8. And that's how we're doing.